so I'm sure you're probably raring to go and get to Dallas.
Yes, ready to get there. I will tell you, I'm watching the weather closely because we all know late April, early May can be a hit or miss in Dallas. I'm certainly hoping the weather gods treat us right.
Gosh, Joe, why did you have to say it?
I'm
I was
sorry.
thinking it
Good news is next year in Phoenix, we won't have to worry about that.
for monsoons. I've
Yes,
lived in Phoenix.
yes.
It they'll sneak up on you.
When does that monsoon usually start?
I think it's around the same time frame. Yeah, yeah. A quick anecdote with Dallas. We had an event once at that Gaylord, the same one where we've had Viva a couple times, and it was a customer event, and there was golf included, of course, like all good boondoggles do. And we were out in Frisco at another golf course, not the one that you're having the tournament at next week. And it wrapped up, and I was the organizer, so I waited to leave until everybody was gone, everything was picked up, the whole 9 yards. So most everybody had already gotten back to the hotel. So I'm hauling it back to the hotel to take a shower and get ready for a dinner. And I'm in the shower and an alarm goes off in the hotel, like, serious. It sounded like a fire alarm. It was a tornado warning. And I half dried off, threw my clothes on. By the time I got downstairs, that hotel has a basement around the perimeter because it's an atrium hotel. It goes around the full circle of the atrium or surrounds the atrium. So there's a basement that mirrors that perimeter. So everybody in the hotel was down in that basement. It was a wild scene. I mean, some folks that had been at dinner literally grabbed their bottle of wine, went down to the basement until the tornado warning was over. Welcome, everybody, to the Fresh CrEd. Thanks for being with us today. We have a special guest, Mr. Joe Watson, VP of Retail, Food Service, and Wholesale at International Fresh Produce Association, who we here at the Fresh CrEd so affectionately call JW.
Okay.
Joe, tell me there's people in your life that call you by JW.
I do have a few old friends, old colleagues that still refer to me as JW. I don't hear it as often as I did back in my retail days, but I certainly still hear it.
You'll give us a pass, I guess.
Oh, absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely. Yes, sir.
JW from now on, or JW for short.
There you go.
Yeah, love it. So Joe, you stay busy, right? I mean, you're busy all the time.
Yes, sir.
And honestly, God, I wish there was a better word than busy, because I feel like everybody says they're busy. I mean, we're all busy, right?
Always better. It's always better to be busy than not, Ed. It certainly is. I always say we got full plates or full platters on occasion, which is another way to say we're busy.
It certainly beats the alternative, right?
It does.
Right now, you're particularly entertained, let's say, to not use the word busy, with an upcoming event, and that's the Retail Conference in Dallas.
Yes.
You all ready? You're not there, I don't think, given
counting down to single days now. We'll be there next Monday, getting ready to kick off the program on Tuesday with our volunteer meeting. Our volunteers will be coming in from all over the country, those that are part of the Retail Council, and we'll have our volunteer meeting on that Tuesday with a council dinner that evening. We're very excited about getting our volunteer leaders together and having a chance to spend most of the day with them. Then we'll kick off the official program on Wednesday.
So they're going to get their Joe time on Tuesday.
Yeah, and we'll start the day again with the Buyer Connect sessions. So the sessions where we arrange buyers and supply side companies to come together in a speed dating type format. We have had this event, this will be the third year. We've done this session at the Retail Conference. It's a high value and certainly a high sought after program that companies want to be part of. Supply side companies come in and sponsor the opportunity to come in and meet with the buyers. And we'll have 12 retailers and 12 supply side companies who will meet for that session. That'll be on Wednesday morning. Once that concludes the fourth annual golf outing for the Retail Conference.
So Joe, you mentioned, believe it or not, I've never been to this event at all. The conference, the golf tournament, anything. I mean, I love everything IFPA and the pre-dated PMA events that now have, rolled into and united both, right? Love them all. But I have not been to this event before. So this is going to be a great experience for me. I'm excited. It's in my home state. I think you might still be closer to Dallas than I am, living in the Rio Grande Valley.
I think I am, Ed. Actually, I think I am. And if you wouldn't mind me sharing this, the Retail Conference actually is a former PMA legacy event that we had held for years in Philadelphia. And in 2019, we started talking about moving the location of the event each year and move to make that happen. And we were going to hold the event in Chicago in 2020. Pandemic hit, everything was canceled. After the IFPA was launched in 2022, we knew we wanted to bring this event back, but kind of rebrand it a little bit, add some other features to it, i.e., the golf tournament, the buyer sourcing meetings, and the like. And we kicked it off in Chicago in 2022, held it there for those here in Dallas this year. And we really want to move this event to kind of a hub, if you will, West and maybe Chicago, Dallas, Phoenix. Those are kind of hub areas, easy to get in, easy to get out. There's an audience that can get to those locations rather easily. For a 2-day event, you don't want to have a lot of complications with travel, right? So we want to make it easy to get in, easy to get out, can draw that audience in that's going to have an opportunity to connect and network and spend a couple of really cool, relaxing days with each other.
Well, I think that all sounds great. A lot of folks can get to Dallas in particular on a direct flight, Chicago, Phoenix, maybe not as much, but much better than McAllen. I'll tell you that much right now. I have to connect everywhere I go. Dallas is a great fit. Obviously, I'm a little biased, but Dallas is a good place to travel in and out of. Huge airport. I think sometimes it takes longer to get actually into the airport on the street level than it is even on the plane. But once you're in there, you can pretty much go anywhere directly.
Absolutely. And that was the idea around selecting the Dallas area. It is centrally located as well. So the audience coming from both sides of the country can get there relatively easy. So we're looking forward to being in Dallas and can't wait to see everyone in person.
In other words, do all three locations, or you just rotate between the three?
Well, right now we're in Dallas this year. We will be back in Phoenix next year.
Okay.
By the time we get to Dallas next week, we plan to have a save the date for the audience so people can start adding it to their calendar. In the 4th year of this event, it's still largely unknown to a lot of people in the industry. And we want to make sure that when people start doing their planning or travel for the upcoming year, it's something that they have marked on their calendar. We're certainly going to put a push out for that to make sure that attendees to the event, but those we missed as well. How do we appeal to them to want to add this to their calendar and understand the value of being there and connecting with, especially those on the supply side, to come in and connect with the buy side, the retailers and the like. And again, in a 2-day intimate sized event where there's a lot of focus on the networking with the education thrown in, that's good, really meaningful topics that's going to bring value to their time spent there.
And that's where it's at, obviously. I mean, from a supplier standpoint, primary or tertiary, there's always excitement when the VIP's around, which we're calling the buyers, let's say, right? So we know what that response is. I can almost guess, right? But on the retail side, what's the feedback been like so far as participation? Now, there's a huge demand on the schedule. You mentioned it a bit ago that you want folks to put that on the calendar and have it ready to go for the year, which I tend to do. I'm working on October right now, both for personal and business purposes, but everybody's time is very valuable. But in the case of retail procurement, in particular, the amount of days they can be out of the office, as you know, being in retail so many years yourself, you're competing for time. What's the feedback been like so far as getting the commitment from retail procurement and buyers?
It's been kind of a mixed bag, to be honest with you, Ed. But at the same time, we've had really strong support from the retail audience across the U.S. and again, a couple from Canada as well. So we're very thankful for that, number one, because again, to your point, their time is very valuable and they have a lot of asks to attend other events as well. And so they have to weigh that. What is the value of attending a specific event? What are they going to get out of it for their business versus the time away from the office, which never stops? When in retail, it's 24/7. If they're an event, that means their work is going to be waiting for them when they get back. And I certainly respect that and lived that for many, many years. And so I think for us, it's about making sure that the message is clear about what the event is about. And it's really about the networking. It's really about bringing the buy side and supply side together. Although we do have the tabletops where some sponsors will have their tabletops out there and the audience will be able to engage with them during the breaks and the networking periods to connect with those. But it's really about getting together and having an opportunity to talk just amongst each other in kind of a formatted, kind of a differentiated format for the event. And that's where we really think the sweet spot of the retail conference is. And we look forward to continuing to continue to evolve this event and do some different things coming up in the years ahead based on the feedback we get. I will tell you, Ed, one of the things we did here coming out of the event last year was attendees wanted more time to interact during the education. And so we're bringing that to this year's education format, whereas we are certainly going to have some presentations. I think the panel is going to be stellar with our panel we're going to have this year, especially given the issues such as tariffs and other issues going on where policy is warranted. But I think also too, Kevin Coop as our MC is going to bring excitement and certainly a high energy level to the day of education. And the interactive sessions we have planned, I believe, will get the entire audience engaged. And we'll have some really cool back and forth conversations and hopefully some great takeaways that when people walk out of the room, they've got some actionable solutions that they can bring to their businesses.
That's awesome. I think you're spot on. I was going to ask you about the tabletop exhibits, and you actually beat me to the punch, but that sounds pretty fun. Is any registered company or sponsored company eligible to do that? Not having been to the event, or maybe this is a first year thing with the tabletop exhibit, but that's piqued my curiosity.
Yeah, so the tabletop opportunities are limited. I believe we have 15 or 16 companies who are participating in that. And we have the opportunity to grow that based on the demand in the coming years. It's really about when we plan the event to make sure we plan the right amount of space based on the demand for that type of program with the tabletops we're talking about now. So when we go to Phoenix next year, if we're getting much more demand than we have space, we certainly want to address that and make sure we get more companies that want to have the opportunity to come in and show their products and services in that tabletop format.
I'm sure they will jump on the opportunity for sure. Joe, going back to, we were talking about time and folks prioritizing their time as far as trade shows are concerned. Just curious to get your take. Trade shows over the years, those that have been involved with planning and otherwise, we don't seem to be able to get away from the weekend component. And I'm not sure if it's a urban legend or urban myth, or the feedback I had gotten over the years is particularly for buyers, that they would be willing to get to a show that might take some of their weekend away, but it's easier than taking a couple days out of the middle of the week. This show's nice and short, so it's easy. To your point, easy to get in and out of. But historically, any of the other shows that clearly have to take a weekend day at least out of people's life. I mean, what is that? Pretty much the thought process there, that just in general, or what you know to be true?
Well, I do know from IFPA's perspective, we have had members and attendees to our events tell us that ideally, if they could get off the weekend for the bigger shows, that they would prefer that. When you think about the global show, how far out they're contracted, several years, it takes time to turn that ship, so to speak. And I know that our team responsible for that show are working on that. I don't know exactly right now what that timeline looks like, but certainly we've heard that from attendees that getting off the weekend, if possible, for some of the events would be ideal and would allow them to spend more time. That's the piece for us that we need to be able to measure is if attendees will spend more time if we're not on the weekend, that could be a win-win for both sides.
Sure.
So I know that there's a lot of conversation taking place around that topic, and I'm sure there'll be more news down the road about what the plan is related to that.
Probably get more feedback from exhibitors, I would think, because I guess just by the nature of the business, more exhibitors exhibit at more shows probably than any individual decision maker goes to shows, right? So that's interesting. We've gone with the flow for so long that I'm not sure it's even questioned that much anymore, but it's interesting to know that it keeps coming up. You mentioned content, you mentioned the sessions in Dallas, you mentioned tariffs. Now, another hot topic that's coming up, which is very timely for your event, is the tomato suspension agreement. Are we safe to assume that that's going to come up in conversation?
It could be in the GR policy topic area of the panel. It's going to be, which Rebecca Adcock, who's on our policy team here at IFPA, she'll be leading that conversation with the panel. So really focusing on what happened in the first 100 days. And certainly the suspension agreement falls into that first 100 days. So I know they're really working on tightening up really what are those going to be, those most relevant, timely discussions that the panel needs to have when we get to Dallas next week. So it's very possible it could come up in that conversation.
Yeah, I bet. That's what I'm hoping for. I like I mean, all the information is good, but obviously the most relevant, real time, that's the meat and potatoes I think people want to hear about.
Oh, agreed. And, regarding the tariffs, we've had so much interaction with our members. We've held 4 town halls over the past few weeks about the tariffs as we get information and so forth. And that will continue as more information, if things change, when they change. Though our policy team is on top of that, and we'll be ready to get that updated information out to our members in the industry at large, for that matter. But there's other things taking place as well that needs to be addressed and discussed as well. So really looking forward again to that session, because I think with our panel and with Rebecca leading that, I believe it's going to be have people sitting on the edge of the seat. I really do believe that.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it as well. Now, you have, I see 40 minutes carved out here for yourself in the state of retail and produce.
Well, I will tell you, I'm going to be sharing the stage with Kevin Coop.
Okay.
Kevin and I are going to be having a conversation about the state of retail. And we've already had a couple of calls discussing what are the topics that are really, really relevant as it relates to retail. But we can't not talk about the supply side when it comes to the state of retail, because they fit together, right? They have to go together. And so we're going to have conversation about what's happening at the state of retail, but there's an impact on the supply side as well too. And so we certainly want to touch on that as well. But we want to really set up the presentation from Jonna Parker with Circana, who's going to follow us and give us a lay of the land, what's happening with consumer trends and so forth. So we really want to set the stage for her presentation as well. We expect us not to get into so much about the data, because John is going to cover that. We're really going to talk about from the standpoint of there are a lot of factors taking place that's impacting both the retail side, but also the supply side, and really touch on that and discuss that and really get people intrigued and hopefully whet their appetite for more that they want to get out of that session.
Yeah, actually, I was reading through that. I'm excited to hear what John has to say as well. Anytime that data or the analytics comes into play, it's important for regional retailers, national retailers alike, as far as strategy and information and education. I think it's hard to go wrong. You mentioned the 100 days of the administration. I have been pumped up about the DC conference this year because I think it's going to be a great one, right? Just considering it's first year of the administration, tends to be a little bit more going on with what's happened so far. Obviously, we have this event right in front of us, but I mean, would you say that's going to be one of the more well attended DC conferences in a while?
To your point, Ed, because of so many things that are taking place, we need the industry's voice to be in Washington. It's one thing for IFPA to be leading the charge on behalf of the industry and staying in front of many of the issues that we are facing, things that we need legislators to support us on and to be aware of that's impacting our industry. But it's quite another to have our members themselves to sit down with representatives to talk about their own businesses and the impact it's having and how legislators and the policy that they make can help or hurt. And we need their help. So to your point, if ever there was a year to have a full house for the policy conference or the Washington conference, this is the year for it. People need to put the time on the calendar, invest the time, because our industry and many, the entire industry and businesses depend on us having a voice heard.
Ever there was a year. I mean, I've been many times to DC for the conference, and frankly, it's just an eye-opening experience. It's sort of like traveling or even traveling abroad, which I haven't done a lot of, but the folks that do always talk about how mind-opening it is. And that's what I feel like going to DC is. I think it's very mind-opening. I find myself watching C-SPAN when I get home and stuff that I wouldn't otherwise do, I think, in my day-to-day. All of a sudden, you get this kind of political booster shot of just wanting to be informed and wanting to be at least, a part of what's going on.
Absolutely. And I'll tell you from my own experience, when I was in retail, I attended 3 times, and having the chance to meet with the people who represent us that are voted to go to Washington to represent us, it is a powerful thing to do, to speak on your own behalf or your company's behalf, but largely in support of the entire industry, but certainly from your company's perspective. It is a powerful thing to do, and it really can change perspectives for those who go, to your point, to be part of that event and be part of a solution and to be heard.
I also think it's really cool, and I know we're talking Retail Conference. But just one more thing about
Yeah.
DC. I really
Yes,
think
sir.
it's cool how y'all separate folks by their home state, right? So if you've never
Mhm.
been, there's a day of lobbying, march on Capitol Hill, and you as an attendee participant are separated into your home state. So you're meeting with members from your home state, which is, I think,
That's
it's
right.
very relevant, right? I think it's pretty cool.
It is very, very cool. And, these are people you see on TV a lot and certainly in the media. And now you have a chance to sit there and speak to them one on one, shake hands, get to know them for a 45-minute. Usually the meetings are short, 30 to 45 minutes. 45 minutes is actually kind of long, but generally 30 to 45 minutes you get with each group, and you've done it before. But it's just really eye opening. It's really eye opening and well worth the time and investment to do. So I encourage anyone who's thinking about attending the Washington conference to make it happen. Industry counts on this.
Exactly. We will see you there. So, Joe, what's this now? We're a little over a week before the retail conference.
What we love so much about this event, and I think what attendees really enjoy so much about this event, and I've said it before, it's an intimate sized group. The programming is on point in terms of what the audience wants to hear. We listen to what we take away with each year and try to build upon and make the event better each and every year. Certainly the golf it's amazing how much golf is such a calling card. When you put that event out, it's the first thing to sell out. It truly is the first thing to sell out. But then beyond that, the welcome reception and awards reception the evening after golf is also a great time to come and network, shake hands, meet new people, make new contacts while enjoying a little food, a little bit of drink. And, we get to do the golf awards as well and just spend the evening together and just have that camaraderie. We do so well as an industry. We love to shake hands and hug necks and so forth. And we look forward to doing a lot of that in Dallas next week.
Remind everybody, Joe, where the location of the event, the hotel and golf course?
Yes, so the event is going to be held at the Westin Stonebriar Hotel and Resort in Frisco. Now, we have, because of demand, we were able to have some other properties right close by within walking distance. I think most of them are to the Westin. So some people will be staying at the other properties nearby, but the Westin Stonebriar is the host hotel, and that's where the golf course is as well.
Not too shabby for sure. I know the area pretty well, and we got to have a lot of family that live in the area as well. I'll actually get to see my mom while I'm there, so she'll be happy about that.
Nice. Good stuff. I can remember a time, and I know you can too, when Frisco was just prairie land.
Oh yeah.
And to look what it is today, it's amazing how much it's grown there.
Oh yeah. It's amazing. So Joe, fresh produce consumption, that's what it's all about, right? Health
Mhm.
benefits of fresh fruits and vegetables. I'm taking you for a pretty adventurous guy when it comes to what goes on your plate. Anything new and exciting you're trying from a fruits and vegetable standpoint?
I will say it's not something necessarily new, but something my wife and I just in the last 3 or 4 weeks, maybe 6 weeks or so, we can't get enough of the mag melons from Del Monte. We've been picking them up locally. They've been so amazingly good. It's obviously offshore. That season is going to be ending here pretty quick, but wow, they have been so good this year, and certainly not new, but just I don't know what it is, but the tropical flavor. Mangoes have really been so good, and we've really been enjoying mangoes through the late winter time and now early into spring. We've really been digging into those as well. Again, it's not necessarily new, but just something from a standpoint of what we've been kind of craving and enjoying the most. Those are two items that we've really, really been partaking in.
It's kind of fun. Mangoes have been great this year.
Yeah,
I think we've been spoiled. I think back to when I was a kid, and when something wasn't in season, it just wasn't in season. You didn't get it. Now we're
hmm
relatively spoiled that almost everything in the department is available year round. But still, it's sort of fun when there's a particularly good season and the fruits, we're talking about mangoes or the, bricks are particularly high or the just great flavor or the quality, let's say, overall. It's kind of
hmm
fun to chase
hmm
it as sort of a produce nerd, which I put myself in that category. Not to your extent, maybe, but I do love, trying new things. Papayas is this year all of a sudden was on my radar and started eating papaya. Papaya and strawberry, mango and strawberry, great combination. I like both of them. You might think this one's a
hmm
little weird, but mango and avocado, love that combination.
Mango and avocado. Okay.
Yeah,
All
It's
right.
a little different. But yeah, to your point, they're items that have been around forever, but they're not always in the lineup, right? And so
Mhm.
it's fun just to try something different, or like I said, follow a trend where, and I mean that in quality, right? Something that comes out that's particularly good that year at harvest, and
Mhm.
it's fun to see it through to the end.
You know, what's really cool too, Ed, is we don't have really too many seasons anymore in terms of when something is available. And we've got one right now. Vidalia onions just started last week. So Vidalia onions are hitting stores, and people will certainly be buying those up, enjoying them throughout this early part of the summer. California cherries are almost here.
Mm.
California cherries are almost here. I was reading an article this morning and it really dawned on me. Wow, it's here. Usually second week in May, maybe even here we're late April, but second week in May, definitely cherries will be going pretty strong and hopefully the weather will hold and there's a good crop this year. But yeah, here we are. California cherries, and then of course we'll go in the Northwest after that. But I love those items because of the seasonality of them. As a former retailer, you really can create excitement around that and really take advantage of that and get customers excited, get your staff excited, and really do some special things.
You mentioned cherries. I was going to the food service show last year, and I picked up a bag at a roadside fruit stand. I should have eaten the whole bag at once, but I love cherries. I grew up in that area in the Salinas Valley or in Gilroy. So that's just, it's something that I did. It brought me back to when I was a kid. I just overdid it a little bit. But yeah,
It's hard, it's easy to do with cherries. Easy to do with cherries once you get
so
into them.
easy, so easy. Well, Joe, we're looking forward to the event next week. We're going to be there. We're excited for our first time at the event, not only personally, but also the Fresh CrEd is going to be there doing some interviews on site. Not our traditional sitting behind a desk. We're actually going to be roving around and bugging people and talking to them about the event and what brought them to the event, as well as their opinions to that point. So we're pretty excited, and it's always a pleasure having you on, of course. We appreciate your time. We appreciate your support. We look forward to seeing you in Dallas and can't wait to see how the event turns out. Thanks again.
No, thank you, Ed, so much. Cannot wait to see you guys in Dallas. And thank you for the support as well. And for all the attendees coming into Dallas. We can't wait to see everyone.
We're just days out from the IFPA Retail Conference. If you're attending, stop us in the hall or catch us at the golf course. Want to be featured on a future episode? Let's make it happen. Follow, like, and share the Fresh CrEd. We're amplifying the voices of fresh produce.